That's nice. Wow, okay, so I pressed the wrong button. You guys saw the empty outro screen, so that's cool. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the third week of the EDL Waveline. This is your host, Xernian. Sorry again for, starting the stream late today. Stuff happens. It's like having a headache and, whatever. But that's that. So, we are back today with Clutch and Matt Pizza. So we're gonna have to kind of speed through everything today as well. So we're just gonna, jump right in. So we have the week 2 recap. We had TFA versus CBR, and CBR 2-0'd, which was actually pretty exciting. And then we had 2-0 for Hyperion when they went against Haven. And then in the Solari division, we had Junior Burgers versus the Crosspoint Koalamos. And then we had... Wait, was that team correct? Or was that the one I had to swap?
What?
For Junior Burgers and Crosspoint?
They won 2. Crosspoint won 2-1.
Yeah. Okay, so I made this actually before I think I switched it, but yeah, so that's actually supposed to be 2-1 for Crosspoint. And then we had 2-0 for Big Duck Entourage versus Merciless Esports Frost, and MIT versus Rev, which was obviously the stream game, which was a 2-1 for MIT. So, there isn't too much to say about all of these games. So, Clutch, why don't you talk about the ones that were in the Lunari division?
Really quickly. So we had CBR versus TFA. We thought it was going to be one-sided. We thought TFA were going to win that one. Obviously, that is not the case. CBR did take them down 2-0 pretty handedly, I'd say. The bot lane one hand and VBU Night Blossom for CBR had some pretty solid stats in their game that they played. It just seemed that
you guys didn't see that.
Okay. It just seems that CBR just played a better overall game than TFA, and we're just able to take the 2-0. I mean, there's not really much more to say. I think CBR was just a better team on the day. And yeah, it's really it for that series. And then the next one, Haven versus Hyperion. Haven did go down 2-0 to Hyperion, and we thought that, Haven was this solid team. Obviously, we're just wrong. So, like, don't listen to anything we're saying. Hyperion played very well. Now, I still think Hyperion, they still have things to work on. I think they are a very solid, like, middle of the pack team for me in that division. Because I'm looking at stats here, and they're actually literally negative in every single thing.
Yeah, what I also noticed was that for Haven's and Hyperion's games, Haven was doing really well in both of the games, and Hyperion was able to like turn both of those games. So I think it was a really good series through both of them. And then, I mean, obviously it was a little bit unlucky that Haven lost and are now out of EDL since they dropped. But that is what it is. And I agree with you, Clutch. Like the first series we were talking about before, TFA versus CBR. CBR played a really good game. Both games, but they had played a good series. Excuse me. And like you said, VBU Night Blossom played really well. They obviously didn't play week 1, but in this week, they played really well, and I was excited to see how they would have gone against Haven support Shadowfax, but that is again how it is. So Matt Pizza, did you have any closing thoughts on that one?
No, honestly, it was just a good series to watch. Nothing to talk about, to be honest. You guys all said it all. So
yeah, so I mean we can go on to the Solari division. Obviously I made a mistake when I made these. So it's 2-1 for Crosspoint Koalamos. Obviously it was Junior Burgers who won at first, and then Junior Burgers made a little oopsie. Used some players they weren't supposed to. So CBK actually won that 2-1 by disqualification. So I feel like we don't really need to go into that series too much, other than like I do think that CPK is a team we've been sleeping on a little bit. Like they've been playing really well. I had numbers like somewhere if I could pull them up, but yeah, like otherwise, I do think CPK like as much as we laughed at Map Pizza at the beginning of the season, like
Yeah.
their ADC, Red Panda, and Reximus, their support, like along with Bear Stew, their jungler, like these KPs are freaking insane. Like Bear Stew has 82.35% KP across like 2 games, I think, and like what the heck?
Mhm.
And then Reximus is higher by like just like 0.2%, and when you have a strong support jungle duo, I think that can like just decide games because it's so hard. Because basically you're playing against like double jungle meta at that point. And if your ADC like Red Panda can stand on their own with like little to no resources, I think that's like already a really solid strategy that's hard to beat. So
All I gotta say is I have a good knack for picking out the underdog teams. So you know,
You're just cracked, Matt Pizza.
true.
better watch out.
So Clutch, I will ask what you thought about the BDE and Merciless Esports Frost series.
So from what I see here, it kind of just looks like it was a team gap. Now one thing I do want to say, I think I don't know how to say it, Neolakia. I think he played. Um, as he subbed in, I believe, as a support, and he had some pretty high KP. And then Swag did end up playing. Um, Obviously, Merciless, they aren't in the league anymore. Um, so there's not really much to talk about them. I still think Brapal and DeChells were their best players. I think they were um, very solid players for the team. But obviously, I mean, it just really doesn't mean too much
Yeah, I
when
mean,
now
at
you're
the end
out
of
of the
the
league.
day,
Like,
Merciless is gone, so BDE
mhm.
kind of everyone gets a free win from when they're supposed to go against Merciless now. But Matt
Yep.
Pizza, what are your thoughts on MIT versus Revolution? Obviously, this is the stream game. It was a pretty good series. Obviously, MIT I think won the first game, and then Rev won the second game, and then MIT won the third game. So
Hmm.
Matt Pizza, what did you think of that series?
So I think the games that MIT won, we just saw like amazing performances coming out from the Killistero and BTS Jungkook, right? Like not to say everyone else didn't like perform, but
Are
everyone
we not
like
gonna
did
talk
their
about
part.
Jason KB and the Kale?
Yeah, that guy was smurfing.
Dude, he picked the Kale, but
Like,
unfortunately, like he just dropped the 12 bomb and like he still lost. But
dude like
I don't
logged
know,
on to League of
man.
Legends, he turned on his monitor and like I don't know. Was
He
kind
tried.
of insane.
He tried so hard. But I mean, if you look at the match, right? Like Les Penks on the also dropping a 10 bomb on the server. So like I feel bad for Jason KB. He like tried so hard, but unfortunately it wasn't there.
I agree. I do think Rev also played really well during all of those games. They were like nail biters. They were so close, especially the third game. And it was really insane. I do think that Rev is still a good team. And their gold team as well, like I know they got 2-0'd by Hawkthorn, but on stream, the second game was just so bloody. It was insane. And
Hmm.
I don't know, Tex, what you're doing with your org here, but you're doing something right. So we're gonna keep
Smurf.
moving. So we're gonna look at our first game of the week. We have TFA versus same strategy. We're a little one-sided on to TFA again, even though they lost last week. So Clutch, let's start with your prediction of 2-1.
Yeah, so I said 2-1 TFA. Yes, they did lose to CB last week. Um, And I think they proved that, obviously this division's a lot closer than we thought. And that's why I'm going to say 2-1 in this series. I think TFA still is a very solid team. I still think they're a middle of the pack team and same strategy. They only had 1 week where they did go up against FTD, and then obviously I believe have the bye. And now are going to be coming back against TFA is going to be very, very difficult for them. Now they're going to have some E subs playing, so we'll see how the E-subs are going to do. And I believe both the E-subs played on Merciless. And it's also Brapal and DeChells, who are their two best players, I think. So I think that this team has a very good chance for same strategy to take a game. However, I just think TFA, they've been, together for longer, and I just think that since they've been
Mm-hmm.
together longer and that they know how their team wants to win the game, how they want to play,
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be too much for same strategy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, okay, I also did make these. We all did these predictions before,
Yeah.
obviously, the rosters and the
Yeah.
e-subs and whatnot. I made these like Wednesday when I was like really sleep deprived. But same strategy, I do think, with the newer players coming in, like you said, Clutch, like Rapal, I do think they were one of the stronger players coming out of Merciless. And like if I had known that coming into it, I would have probably said 2-1 as well for TFA. But again, like I do think the series is a lot closer with the different players and newer players coming in. But Wednesday me said 2-0 for TFA. So Matt Pizza, you said 2-1 for TFA.
I think like since same strategy does have all the e-subs, like I just predicted this, right? Like it's gonna be a little iffy, all right, with all the new players coming in. But I do think like one game, same strategy, everything just clicks. And I think that's gonna be game two, right? Game two, same strategy, everything just clicks. Game one, it's like the little testing ground. Game two, everything clicks, and they're like, all right, this is what we need to do. This is how we win this game. Boom, done. But and then TFA will see that, and then it'll be like, all right, so we'll just 1-2 switch it up, and then they're like, oh.
Yeah.
But that's how I imagine the series to go.
Yeah, I do think it'll be a good series to watch, especially with the new players, and I'm excited to see if they stick around. So we're going at a fast pace here. We're going to the next game. Obviously, Haven withdrew from the league. But my thoughts going into the series.
Matt Pizza,
Yeah,
wait
Matt
a minute.
Pizza. Like, okay, so we're not gonna have to talk too much about
Wait,
this
we're counting
series.
this. I'm 2-0, I'm correct?
Yeah, I mean I could have gone and changed my predictions, but I'm staying
correct.
truthful. I said 2-1 for CBR because I do think that, like, obviously before Haven withdrew, I do think that CBR, like, their roster has had a lot of practice together already. Like, also, CB Resurrection and Monkeys Rising, and they were able to. They've been doing a lot in Monkeys Rising as well. Obviously, it's not the exact same roster, but a lot of their key players, and I think that like with CB Resurrection, like I mentioned before, like they have a lot of strong points. I do think that like players like VBU Night Blossom, Zell, and like just their whole roster in general, I do think that the more they get practice in, like the better they're just gonna look throughout this season. Like they did 2-0 TFA, so they're not a team to sleep on. So Matt Pizza, explain your 2-1 here for Haven.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, I believed in my boy Roland. I was just like, I think they can pull out the win against CB Resurrection. I used up all my future side on the last prediction, so I just kind of like made a really big oopsie on this one.
So it's like, when you play Pokemon and you're out of the PP?
Yeah, I was out of the PP.
I make that joke with Shifty all the time. So no Clutch, you said 2-0 for CB Resurrection.
Yeah. So I mean, I said 2-0 because obviously I'm a prophet from the future. I actually can see into the next week, and I actually knew that they were going to drop just by being able to tell. Because obviously I'm a prophet, so I was like, oh, it's 2-0, and you guys are like 2-1, 2-1. It's gonna be good. I'm like,
see, I used all of my profit
drop.
points on gold week 1.
Oh yeah, gold week 1. You put them all in, and now you're kind of out.
There goes all my points, guys. I'm out of PP.
Yeah, no more peepees. So you actually, it's just GG, I guess. But in all honesty, I just thought from last week with CBR's dominating performance against what did they, TFA, and then Haven losing. I just thought that CBR would kind of just come in and be like, okay, well, we've kind of figured out how we want to play the game, and they would just 2-0. But obviously Haven's not in the league anymore, so anything I kind of say is a little irrelevant. I thought Haven would be a decent team, and Xernian really sucks for you because I think you had Haven as your underdog team, and now
they were my underdog team.
So there goes your 10 points. I mean, you can't even.
No. It was 10 points for the finals.
It was for the finals.
Pick.
Oh yeah. Never mind.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I did think this was gonna be a good series. It's a bit unlucky. It's not gonna happen, but such is life. So we will move on to the next series. We have the Junior Burgers versus Big Duck Entourage. And, we're looking a little one-sided again. I'll start with my side. I said 2-1. I do think that Junior Burgers, like, obviously, Junior Burgers and Burger Flip esports in general always comes in with a very strong-looking roster. I think the problem lies with the fact that there are a lot of teams in, like, Burger Flip. I'm not saying this is all of them, but I've noticed a trend where it's like, they have trouble holding rosters together and they have trouble like kind of getting a stable roster. And I feel that even though you have all of these talented players, if you're not getting in that practice, if you're not getting in like, if you're not getting your players to know each other, then like in a competitive fives environment, you're just gonna fall flat on your face. Like, sure, you'll be able to take wins off of good teams like Big Duck Entourage, which is why I also give them the 1. But at the end of the day, Big Duck Entourage is also having problems like holding some people together in the roster. So I honestly see this kind of as a coin flip series. But yeah, Matt Pizza, you said 2-0, and Clutch, you said 2-0 as well.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go first, Pat Pizza?
Yeah, I'll take the lead here. All right, so we'll look at Big Duck Entourage, right? We have Poober, and we have Hyperion.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Like it's no Poober and Psych, right? Like those two are another level. But Poober and Para, I like what I see, and all I'm gonna say is that I expect great things from those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good look,
all right,
Matt Pizza.
Clutch, you also said 2-0 for the Big Duck Entourage.
Yeah, so it's really hard for me because I think Junior Burgers are actually a pretty good team, but like you said, they have a lot of roster issues, and I don't even know if we're gonna see them play with their starting roster once this split, which kind of sucks because I think their starting roster has a lot of potential and can be a very good team in this league. The only problem is when you're switching up your team every single week, which 80% of the teams in the league do, you're just flipping 50-50 every week and hoping to skill check, which kind of sucks. But honestly, I just think Big Duck Entourage at this moment are kind of just gonna skill check and win. Not saying that Junior Burgers are bad because I think Junior Burgers are good, but when you just inconsistently like swap your roster every single week, it's really hard to like even get to know how you want to play the game as a team. Like each week it's something different and you're just like so confused on what's happening. So that's why I think BDE will 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it'll be a close series though, regardless. I'm kind of on the other side of the coin, but yeah, I mean that is that for that series. So obviously Abyssal,
We all got
isn't
it right.
playing this week
We
since
got
they
it right.
did FF. So there isn't much to say about the series other than, I voted 2-0 for Rev because like Tex was like kind of bullying me. Tex was like,
Abyssal hater.
Yeah, he's like, he's like, Yvonne, why aren't you like voting for my team? Like, but I do think that Rev, like, they showed so much potential in their series last week on stream, and like I said, this early into the season, there are a lot of teams that are going through a lot of like growing pains. They're trying to figure out like what works, what doesn't work, and stuff like that. And I do think that Revolution Silver is starting to find what works for them. Obviously, like a few other like key players were like Banks and like Skeletons, Leah, like I could just say their whole roster at this point because I do think like as a team, like if they didn't have to e-sub, if they didn't have to use like subs and stuff, I do think that their series last week could have definitely been in their favor and could have been a 2-1 for them. But yeah, Matt Pizza, Clutch, you both said 2-0 as well.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to diss Abyssal or anything, but we all said 2-0, so that's all I'll say. We can move on.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say about this series since it's not really happening, so we'll move on. Okay, so we have St. Pete Kawalamos versus Monkeys in Training. So this week, Matt Pizza, he finally convinced me to vote for CPK.
Let's go.
Like, this whole week has just been a lot of people convincing me to vote for their teams. So it's like, I do like MIT as like their roster, but I just feel like, it's just not the same because it's not. It's really not the same without like their CB Resurrection team members, right? Like the people like Zhao and Bird Nurse and Chinese Spy and like all those original members, I felt really defined MIT as a team from season 1. And I'm not gonna say anything. Well, I mean, obviously they didn't play until finals, but like Merciful Crow is like one of the last standing players from that original roster. And for those that don't know, season 1 MIT was just the subs that got like slapped together. And they're like, here, you guys can just like go have fun, practice in this league and get some playtime and have fun. And then they're like, okay, we're just gonna go win the league. So, but again, like I do think that, you know, CPK has been a team that we were probably also sleeping on a lot. And, you know, maybe Matt Pizza, he's got some maybe he's got something going believing in this team. So this week is they have my vote. So Matt Pizza, you also said CPK.
I mean, from week 1, right? I said CPK is gonna win it all. So obviously, what kind of faithful person would I be if I didn't back them up every single week? Now they are going against MIT, and we know that MIT is a really good team. So I think they might drop a game, but I know that they'll come back. They'll play how they like to play, right? They'll play to their bot side, and so I think my boys CPK will win it.
I agree. Like the bot lane through CPK is looking to be one of the strongest in the whole league. Like, no joke, this bot lane is kind of insane, and I'm excited to see how they'll do. So Clutch, you said 2-0 for MIT.
Yeah, I mean, all I've got to say is we saw last week how it went, right? Now there was a sub support, but Jason KB, this dude absolutely smurfed. 26, 8, and 19. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, I mean, that's a lot, right? But what's his KP? He's a top laner. 76% as a top laner. That's in that what? 76%. His XP diff is 460 at 10 minutes. This guy's an absolute insane player. I think he brings so much value to their team. It's very clear that monkeys in training are going to be playing around top side. And to me, it's how much can Grizzly, aka Slim, absorb this pressure? Because if Jason KB gets a lead, he's going to just run over the game. He's a very good player, and MIT, I think, has a clear win con. Now, one thing for Crossbond I will say is that they have Red Panda and Reximus, who, I mean, I'm just going to say it right now, are the best bot lane Solari. I don't think there's anyone that can match them. So it's basically the battle of the top side versus the bot side. And just for me, I think that Crosspoint, looking at who they have played, they played Merciless, Esports Frost, and Junior Burgers. So Crosspoint to me really has not been tested. Like Merciless dropped out, and Junior Burgers had an ineligible player. Yes, they did lose, but it was very close. So I don't really think that Crosspoint has been tested this entire split. Not saying that Crosspoint isn't top 3, because I think they are very clearly top 3 in the division. But a lot like BDE for me, BDE and Crosspoint, I don't think have played a top team in this group. And this week, I think when MIT does go against Crosspoint, I think it's going to be a little rough, because I think that MIT is going to give them the rude awakening that, like, hey, listen, we're still the top dogs. We're still really good, and you guys need to respect us. Not saying that Crosspoint isn't good, because like I said, I think this team is really insane. I think this match is going to be a very good match to watch, even though it isn't the stream.
Yeah, I mean, I think this would have been a good series to watch. Unluckily, you know, can't stream all the games. I don't think I have that kind of mental capacity. I don't have like, if I had like 10 computers and I could just like stream all of the games, we make EDL1, like, no, it's like
EDL 1
EL1,
to 10?
EL2,
Yeah, we have 10
EL3.
cats.
Yeah, we
20
have
cast.
10, yeah, pretty much. I think that would be pretty hype. But we will talk about the last and streamed match of the week. So it is FTD, I think their sister name is Black. So it's Feed the Dream Black versus Hyperion Shadow. Obviously, we are looking a little one-sided, but Clutch and I said 2-1 for Hyperion, and Matt Pizza said 2-0. So we're going to start with you, Matt Pizza. This is the stream match. Why do you think it's going to be a 2-0?
Because obviously it's a streamed match. It's gonna be the Casters Curse. We're gonna go to 2
We've
games and that's it.
We've had a lot of 3-game series to my disappointment, but
you know, I mean, I still believe it's gonna be a 2-game series. Right, the Kazuko always lying down there, waiting to strike. Um, but yeah, I think Hyperion, Shadow, they have really good players, and I just think that I just think it might just be a gap in every lane, unfortunately. But
Yeah, I do
that's
think
my
both of
take.
these teams have, sorry, like, I know that's your take, but I do think that both of these teams, I do think it's going to be a close match. So, if any of you ever have the pleasure of like being on the back end and hearing me be the producer for you, it's really just me complaining that I want 2-0s because I like going to sleep. And three game series kind of take away from that. So I vote 2-1 for this series, but I do think it's because that both of these teams are actually very close in skill. I do think that Hyperion Shadow is just slightly better, like slightly stronger, like as we've seen from their past matches and their series. Like they 2-0'd who did they 2-0 again? We saw the recap and then I forgot. But they did 2-0 their last series. So I do think Hyperion is another team that I feel is rising to be one of the strongest teams in this division, at least. So, Clutch, you said 2-1 as well. So, any closing thoughts?
Yeah. So I just think it's going to be really close. I think both these teams are equally matched, and I think that I mean, to me, like, it's just 50-50. Now, what I will say is Hyperion do have Tomorrow, who was picked up, and I think Tomorrow's a very good player, so we're gonna finally see him on stream. But I think this matchup's the battle of like it's the battle of third and fourth. Like, I think both these teams are just right there, and um, both equal skill, and I just gave it to Hyperion because last week Hyperion did play and Feed the Dream didn't, so that just made me say, all right, Hyperion's gonna win, but I think it's just 50-50 down to the wire.
Like, okay, Twitch chat is telling me thank you. It was Haven. They 2-0'd last week. And again, they pulled a game off
Yep.
of TFA in week 1. So I do think that Hyperion is like, not a team to put aside. Like I said earlier as well, Haven was playing really well and they were ahead in both of those games, but Hyperion like knew when, they were like, spoilers if anyone watched it was an MSI DFM versus Damwon. Like
DFM.
DFM rip, but like DFM was ahead basically for a whole chunk of the game, for basically the entire game. But basically, Damwon, they get one ace, they end the game. Like I feel that Hyperion Shadow just knows like where is the fine line between winning and losing. They know exactly like just enough what they need to win. And I think that's just gonna make the whole difference this in the series. So um yeah, I mean, otherwise, I don't have a hype video to end you guys off of tonight, but I'm sorry we had to go a little bit shorter. But we will see you guys in about half an hour. We're gonna see the stream match, and
Yeah,
hopefully
it's
we
gonna be
see
good.
you guys there. Sorry we kind of had a speed run waveline this week, but we'll see you guys next week, and everything should be good by then. But yeah, make sure you
Yep.
guys tune in 8 p.m. Eastern. Feed the Dream Black versus Hyperion Shadow. It's gonna be a great series. So hopefully see you guys there. Peace.